I thought that was interesting that you said going around, you realized socialism, communism was dead. Ironically, it's making quite the resurgence here, especially in America. Obviously, I don't know exactly what's going on elsewhere around the world, but we're seeing some failed socialism experiments, and Venezuela's not looking too hot. What's your take on that? The rise of socialism.
Whenever there are hard times, people look for easy answers. Socialism and communism, a great story. It sounds wonderful. We have tried. Mr. Marx was around over 150 years ago. It was a good story, very good story. A lot of people liked it, and a lot of people tried it. But in the last 150 years, we have found out it doesn't work, nor does socialism work. So sure, but people who, first of all, don't have the experience or don't read history or don't see what's really happened, love the story. But I can tell you, Jake, and given human nature, since it's a good story and it's an easy story, more people will try it when things get really bad, or try MMT, more money today. Any good story, easy story, people will try because they think, oh, that'll save us. Unfortunately, there's no free lunch.
So do you think that this is just a cycle in human history, that now the pendulum has swinged more back towards hard times, which equates to people's desire for socialism and more government control? And this is hopefully just a little cycle we're in, or how do you think about that?
People look for an easy answer, and people look for a free lunch. Nobody likes it when you tell them there's no free lunch and this is not going to be easy. Nobody wants to hear that. Even if you ran on a platform, if you were a politician and said, God, this is terrible, we're going to have tough times for a while, but we can solve the problem if we do what's right. He might get elected. But Jake, 6 months later, a year later, people would say, wait a minute, this is too hard. I didn't know you meant this. I didn't know you meant this much pain. Come on, I don't want this anymore. This is not any fun. They'd throw him out or he'd get assassinated. Who knows what would happen to him? This is just human nature I'm talking about. You don't have to go around the world to know about human nature. You read some history, if nothing else, and people will look for the easy answer. And no, I know it's not going to work. And I know it'll make it worse in the end. If you look at America in the past 15 years, people just printed and spent and borrowed huge amounts of money. After 2008, everybody said, okay, this is the only thing we can do. We have to borrow a lot of money and spend a lot of money and print a lot of money. It's the only way to save us. Fools like me said, wait a minute, guys, it's going to make it worse in the end. It's going to make it much worse in the end. It's good to be old. I don't have to worry about how this is going to wind up. It's not a good time to be young because all the young people, people like you, are going to be facing huge, gigantic debts and problems over your lifetime. And it's not going to be an easy answer. You may try easy answers like 2008, but in the end, somebody has to pay the price. Do I like it? No, I want an easy free lunch too. Oh my gosh, I want things to fall out of the sky. But I've read enough and been around long enough to know it doesn't work that way.
You're honest with us. This is, a lot of people aren't honest and they just think it's not going to be that bad, right? You've got Yellen saying, good times are ahead and what have you. Doesn't look like, whether it's 2 years or 10 years, the trajectory isn't too hot. And on top of that, then you move towards, as this happens, you move towards higher taxes, capital controls, more restrictive liberties, et cetera. And what philosophies would be important to you right now? And what do you think you'd be focusing on?
There's no free lunch. What I would urge you and everybody is to stay with what you know. It doesn't do me any good to say to you, agriculture has a great future. If you don't like being in the sun, if you don't like planting things, it'd be foolish for you to go into agriculture. Who cares what I say? If I said to you, Silicon Valley has a great future, if you weren't good at math, you probably shouldn't bother. So the most important thing is to stay with what you know. Don't go off chasing windmills. Don't go chasing the latest hot thing you hear on the internet or on TV. Just stay with what you know. I said before, at least you'll be happy. Maybe you won't be wildly successful, but you won't be poor and struggling because you'll know enough to do well. I mean, as I said before, it's boring. But if you want to be successful, if you want to come through this, figure out what you love, figure out what you're best at. If it's languages, learn languages. If it's math, develop your math. Just stay with what you know. And that's how you're going to come through this and how you're going to come through successful.
Before we continue, help us by smashing that YouTube like button and subscribe now to this channel. This shows the algorithm that you value the information, and it helps us spread this message. Sharing is caring. Please like and subscribe now. Thank you. And now, let's continue.
Do you have a personal favorite gold or silver coin, like a personal favorite mint?
Well, no. I mean, this is what is this? This is a Chinese panda. The U.S. and the Chinese and I don't know, but I think they're probably the biggest distribution or biggest production. So you'd want something that's somewhat known and liquid. I mean, everybody would recognize a U.S. dollar, silver dollar. I don't know how many people would recognize a Guatemala silver dollar, for instance. So my advice, the ones with the biggest distribution are probably where you should focus. Canada, Australia, America, China. Those are ones that most people will recognize or at least be able to accept as real stuff.
China, it's been interesting to watch. You know, you're in Asia, and you know you're very involved in the Asian markets, and I found it interesting how intelligent their government has been in focusing on commodities. You know, we don't know exactly how much gold they have or what have you, but just getting involved with commodities, either purchasing mines in Africa or getting involved in the rare earth elements. Do you think that they're just ahead of the curve versus America in understanding the lack of investment into commodities, and on top of that, the devaluation of currency that we're in? Is it just that our politicians and our Federal Reserve governors, they just don't understand how bad this currency crisis is? And China's saying, we should be buying gold. What do you make of all that?
Well, I certainly know that in Washington, they don't understand. That part of your statement is correct. I mean, there have been times when Washington has been brilliant, but not in many, many, many decades. Looking at the same sources you do, I can see that the Chinese seem to have done a less bad job than the rest of us. They certainly have piled lots of gold. They have stockpiled lots of commodities. As far as this recent crisis, they seem to have done a less bad job than the rest of. But I don't know. You can ask me in 30 years. We'll know. We can sit around here and we'll drink beer or coffee or something in 30 years, and we'll know if the Chinese did a better job. But so far, they do have reserves, not just gold and silver, but other stuff as well. And they have emphasized the production of raw materials. Well, they know they got 400 million people. They got to produce a lot of stuff. They're putting big emphasis on agriculture because they know they need lots of food production going forward. So yes, at the moment, it looks as though they've done a less bad job. But don't think the Chinese haven't had many periods in their history where they were disasters. They have. On the other hand, Jake, you know, China is the only country in world history that's had recurring periods of greatness. China's been on top 3 or 4 times in history. They've also been total collapse 3 or 4 times in history and had long periods of catastrophe. But for whatever reason, they're the only country that after a few decades or centuries at the bottom have turned around and risen to the top again. Is that happening again? It looks like it is. I have not figured out why, except I can see it has happened before, and it seems to be happening again. But I can also see many catastrophes in Chinese history.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. you will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active and see you on the other side.